Is it weird, or would you be the jerk if you took your shoes off during a flight? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for resenting my parents for not giving me my own bedroom growing up? My parents are upper middle class Americans. They settled down in a nice neighborhood on the outskirts of a city. They specifically chose the apartment they purchased because it had a really nice view. The apartment was a one-bedroom space. They converted the dining room to be my bedroom. It had a see-through sliding door that connected to the kitchen. It was about a fifth of the size of their bedroom, and it didn't have a closet. Recently we were talking, and I told them that it was clear that they valued a view over my privacy. They got offended and said that I was being ungrateful. If they were unable to provide me with my own bedroom, I wouldn't be resentful. I'm upset because they made an active choice to have a nice view instead of giving me a bedroom. Our building was one of the most expensive in the area. They could have easily moved to a cheaper apartment with 2 bedrooms. They say that I grew up privileged and shouldn't complain since the other had it much worse. Am I the jerk and an ungrateful child? If it's abundantly clear that they chose a more expensive place just because they liked waking up there and looking out the window more, then I don't think OP's the jerk. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not these people are just total jerks, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my coworker not to bring her child? I and my coworkers, mostly late 20s and early 30s, all without children, decided to have an early Christmas party just for our department next week. We planned to go to a pub around 7 p.m., get some beers and so on. We made a group chat and started to discuss where to go and what time. The regular. One of our coworkers is friends with a coworker on maternity leave, so they added her to the chat too. She was happy to come and told us that she'll attend with her son, who's currently 5 months. I told her that I don't think it's a good idea to take him with her, since we really are probably going to be loud and drinking, and he's going to be crying, and it's also kind of late. She told me it's fine and that she's taking him everywhere with her. She even took him to her husband's conference where he has a presentation and he didn't cry much. Others joined me and said that it's not the best environment for a child, and that if she doesn't have a babysitter, we can change to a more suitable day. But she said she doesn't want to be separated from her baby and called us jerks. The only person who took her side was her friend. So are we the jerks? I'm sorry if it seems insensitive, but if you're having a get-together and you're all young adults, and you're probably going to be going out and getting drinks and being loud, that's just not the environment for a kid to be around, and you kind of don't want to be around a kid, especially not a 5-month-old baby who is probably going to be very cranky. This next story is, would I be the jerk? My wife wants more time for herself when all she has to do is take care of our child. Me, 27-year-old male, and my wife, 25-year-old female, have a 6-month-old child. Before we had the child, we agreed that she would primarily be in charge of the childcare, while I would do practically everything else. This includes 95% of the chores and other housework. I'm the only one between the two of us that works a job, night shift security guard. I make dinner for the family, etc. I want to clarify some things before I get infoed in the comments. When I say I do 95% of the chores, I mean that my wife will do some of the dishes like the baby's bottles or cups when they need to be washed, and I'm asleep during the day, and occasionally fold a load of laundry that she needed a piece of clothing from before I can get around to it. I vacuum and mop the floors, do the laundry, the dishes, clean the bathrooms, cook dinner, and do the grocery shopping. She takes our child to doctor appointments, wakes up with them during the night on the days I'm at work, watches them during the day, and will make baby-specific meals. She'll puree vegetables and fruit and cut up the smaller portions of chicken. I do spend as much time as I can with our child. I wake them up in the mornings when I come home from work, and I feed them breakfast before I sleep. When I wake up, I'll try and play with them for about 30 minutes, doing reading and playing with whatever toy they're interested in for the week. During the weekends when I'm awake during the night, I'll be the one who gets up with our child. This is coming to a head because as we were eating dinner before I went to work, she asked if there was any way that I could watch our child more due to her feeling like she needs time for herself. At first, I thought that she wanted to have more weekend events with her friends while I was watching our child during the day. Something I'm more than okay with and have agreed with multiple times. Instead, she was asking that I sleep less during the days that I work, so she can have breaks from the child during the day. I told her that I would think about it at work, and I want to say no. I understand that being a stay-at-home mom is stressful because you always have to watch the baby. But she doesn't do any chores, and from the way things were phrased, she wouldn't be willing to take up any chores during the new break I would be giving her. I don't have much time to myself either, but I do understand that she carries the stresses of watching our child most of the time while I don't. Would I be the jerk if I told my wife that I'm not willing to let her take a break from watching our child? I think OP's not the jerk, because if anybody needs a break, I think OP is the one that needs it. They're out there working, they're out there doing chores, providing food, money. Like, I'm not disrespecting taking care of a kid, I'm sure it's still feeling like a full-time job, but compared to a lot of people, they honestly don't have it too bad as far as taking care of a kid goes. Our next story is, am I the jerk for going on a weekend trip alone that my partner couldn't afford? Hey everyone, a little while ago I, 29-year-old female, saw a discount flight to a nearby city. It was a 12-hour sail. I have friends in the city and immediately texted them to make plans, which they agreed. I phoned my boyfriend, 31-year-old male, who I've been with for about a year. We don't live together or share finances, if he wanted to come. He told me that he couldn't afford it right now as things were tight, and he had his daughter, 4-year-old female, not mine, that same weekend. So I went without him. My boyfriend is furious with me. He said that since we've been dating for a year and are getting more serious, I've met his daughter and family, we're discussing moving in together next year, that we should make big decisions together and run weekend plans by each other. He also really wanted to visit said city another time, maybe next year. I told him I would be more than happy to visit again next year, since I have many friends there. I was gone for a weekend and spent my own money to visit my own friends, so I don't see the issue. I feel he's being controlling, and I did ask him to join me, but he views me as being a bad partner who doesn't function as a team. So Reddit, am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. Maybe if you were married, there's some kind of conversation to maybe have, but like things aren't that close, your finances aren't shared. OP offered and reached out. It's not like they just went on it without ever mentioning it. Honestly, I think this is a pretty big red flag for OP. God forbid, don't saddle yourself with somebody that's going to hold you back because they're jealous they can't be there or they feel like they need to do everything with you. I just feel like if you're in a relationship where you allow somebody to have that control and influence you to not go to these kinds of things, you're at some point going to look back on that relationship and regret it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for being homophobic towards my best friend? I, 21-year-old male, have been best friends with whom I'll call Mike, 22-year-old male. Me and Mike have been friends since childhood, and we've never really had any big fights or problems before, so this was very unexpected, and I have no idea what to do. For some context, Mike is gay and came out to me when he was 18, and I've supported him the whole way. From helping him tell his parents and listening to his rants about his identity and helping him through it. I myself am straight, but I have nothing against the LGBTQ+ community. Mike knows this. Around last week, me and Mike were hanging out with our other friend Ava, 22-year-old female. We were drinking and just ranting about our lives. Later, Ava had to use the restroom, and when she left, Mike had touched me inappropriately. I'm not going to go into detail, but that's what happened. I told him to stop, and he didn't. I later left because I was uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to handle it because something like this had never happened to me before. About 2 days later, I messaged him about it, and I told him how I was upset and very uncomfortable with him crossing my boundaries, and that I wanted a break from our friendship for a little while. He didn't take that very well and claimed that I was being homophobic, and that I didn't want to be his friend anymore just because he was gay, which is the furthest thing from true. I didn't want to take a break from our friendship because we've been close since we were kids, but I could just not let what happened slide, in case it would ever happen again. Am I the jerk? If OP's looking for reassurance here, I think they absolutely should get that reassurance. They're clearly not the jerk here, and what happened here isn't homophobia, it's Mike committing a crime. This next story is, am I the jerk for uninviting my sister-in-law to Thanksgiving? I, 36-year-old female, and husband, 40-year-old male, are hosting Thanksgiving for the first time ever this year. Our older nephew, 20-year-old male, has recently come out as gay and asked if he could bring his boyfriend he's been seeing for a few months. We said of course. Last night my mother-in-law called and said my sister-in-law would not be coming. When I asked why, she said it was because of our nephew bringing the boyfriend. She's not blood related to him, it's on my side of the family, but she's been around him most of his life. I told her that was her choice and ended the convo. This morning, sister-in-law calls and asks if I told nephew not to come. I was shocked and asked why I would have. She went on about how she should be able to with the rest of the family without being uncomfortable. At that point, I got so mad, I said, "What do you think, they'll screw on top of the turkey in front of Grammy?" And she started to cry and hung up. I've gotten calls from the family all day about how I shouldn't have handled it that way. My husband thinks it's funny, but his mom, who I'm very close with, is very upset. So, am I the jerk? Personally, I think if you're intolerant of people's life choices and sexuality, to the point where you're too disgusted to even go to a family event, then you probably should stay home, and I think OP is clearly not the jerk. Honestly, I love the way OP described it with a table comment. What I really don't understand about people who are homophobic is why do they care? I think religion usually plays a pretty big part in it, but it's also not like they're going to just start doing some crazy displays right in front of everybody at the family get-together. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend she needs to stop with the herd mentality? Me, 23-year-old male, and my girlfriend, 27, were supposed to go on a date tomorrow to the amusement park. It was her idea, as she never had the chance to visit one when she was young. Since Monday when I made the promise, she was excited and won't stop talking about what she would do there. Sadly, somehow her mood got destroyed and she wasn't a fan of childish things anymore, as she puts it, which confused the heck out of me. I did ask what was wrong. She didn't give me an answer and just told me how I was stupid for suggesting an amusement park as a date instead of taking her to a expensive restaurant. Spending 3 years with her, I know the reason for her behavior had to be her family or her friend's fault. For as long as I've known her, she was quick to follow whatever her other people say over what she wants. It's caused many problems in the past where she becomes depressed after she noticed her mistake and blames people who had nothing to do with it, aka me. Turns out I was right. Her friends mocked her for saying that she was going to the amusement park. I tried to cheer her up, telling her that her friends don't know any better. She yelled at me and told me that I'm an awful man, always thinking of myself. I tried to defuse the situation by telling her I'm sorry, but that wasn't enough. At this point, I was already annoyed at her friends for putting me in this mess. I ended up telling her that she needed to stop with the herd mentality because she was just going to end up sad, never doing anything she wanted. And following a band of morons is never going to make her happy. Now she's crying and won't talk to me. Was I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. I think they're trying to be the voice of reason and get through to them that, hey, you deserve to do what you want. There's nothing wrong with being a Disney adult. There's nothing wrong with enjoying video games, with going to the park. There's nothing wrong if you want to swing on a swing set. There's nothing wrong if you want hot chocolate with marshmallows. There's nothing wrong if you want to get matching onesies and have a popcorn movie date. Whatever it is you want to do, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that, and giving in to these people who try to judge you for that is just awful. I feel bad for OP because it sounds like they really do care for her, but she is really trapped in not being able to do things for herself. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents to pick between me and my sister for the holidays? I, 28-year-old male, am currently pretty much estranged from my family. I have a younger sister, female, 27, Tori. When one of my friends, Brendan, 28-year-old male, started dating Tori, I hated it at first, but eventually I gained a best friend. They got married in 2018 and I was the best man. Brendan's now like my brother. We're that close. In 2020, Tori left Brendan for another guy, reality TV type crap. My parents were incredibly upset, as was I. My sister moved in with the guy immediately. My parents knew I was pissed but had to support their daughter. I went no contact with Tori and little contact with my parents. In 2020, when Tori's second wedding happened, I didn't go. Me and my dad had it out over it. My mother tried playing peacekeeper for the family. My parents then started giving me the silent treatment. When the 2020 holiday season came around, it was the height of COVID. My parents said that I should just do my own thing this year because with me going out a lot, they didn't want me spreading diseases. My exact response was, if you're worried about catching diseases from other people, shouldn't you be more worried about Tori? I mean, she's the one who likes to sleep around. Me and my dad had another fight, especially due to his family over everything mantra. I hardly spoke to my family in 2021. My parents would send me texts like, "When you're ready to apologize, we'll be here," type crap. I responded with a Bible verse about adultery and how they support it. I was berated again, and we hardly spoke until October of 2021. Last year, I was told we were doing Thanksgiving at Tori's place, and if I wanted to come, I needed to apologize to Tori and her husband. I laughed and ended up going to Brendan's family's, where Brendan's mom posted me with her family on Facebook and tagged me with a quote about family being those you choose. I never told her to post it, but my mom saw it and went ape crap, asking for me to come over and talk and even commented on the post. So this year, my plan is to go to Brendan's family again. My mom called and said she wanted to host this year. I asked if Tori and her husband would be there. She said, of course, they're family. I said, so is Brendan, but I saw how you treated him and me, so no thank you. Yesterday, my dad called and said my mom is distraught and has been for years. She wants us all to get along, so I need to do the right thing. I said I'll come if my sister isn't invited. He said that he wouldn't do that to family. I said he did that to me for 2 years. He claimed I did it to myself. My mom is now saying that it was my dad that's been the hard butt about this the whole time. I said she should have divorced him then because I'm not putting up with his crap anymore. Either my sister isn't invited or I don't come. I've now had some extended family reach out and say that my parents are upset and hurt. I said my parents were totally okay with not having me around for 2 years. Am I the jerk? Honestly, I think everybody's at their throats here, and I think they're all scrambling to blame each other. Marriages break up, marriages don't last. People do cheat on each other, it sucks. But I don't think any of this should be the reason why this whole family is at odds with each other. Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking my sister out of my apartment because she disclosed private information? I, 19-year-old female, have a sister, 23-year-old female, who helps out with the family dinner I host every Saturday with friends and family. When she came over early last Saturday to help prepare with me, I disclosed to her information that one would assume is private. I told her that I was hallucinating bugs in my bedroom in the last couple of days, and that I would jerk up from my sleep in the middle of the night. She told me that it seemed serious and I should get it checked up before it escalates. I ignored it and told her to just forget about it. We talked about things that had been on our minds as of recently. We were having a wholesome time preparing for this dinner party for our friends and family. Skip to when the dinner party begins. We greet everyone, do our usual conversing, and after an hour, we all sit to eat. After we all talk about recent thoughts and affairs, my sister announces that I'm going crazy, jokingly, whilst she was wine drunk. My mother asked her what she meant, and I made signals to her to stop speaking. She progressed and said, Rebecca's seeing things that aren't there and she can't sleep without jumping out of her sleep, and laughs it off. I leave my seat after everyone stares at me, completely embarrassed, and I can hear from the hallway that my sister's talking about how I always take everything seriously and that I need to loosen up. I go back in and tell her to get out of my house or I'll escort you out. She, of course, thought I was kidding. I grabbed her arm and she willingly walked with me till I was at the door and I told her to leave. She again informed me that she didn't know I wouldn't want others to know. I told her to go and she finally listened. It was completely awkward for the rest of the party and I avoided my mother. The next day, my mother emails me a psychiatrist's information details. My sister's been messaging me, claiming that it was an accident and that she never intended to hurt me. My relatives have all been asking me if I'm okay. I feel embarrassed. My father told me that I made a scene for nothing. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. I think if you confide a certain thing in somebody like this, you should know that it's a sensitive thing, that you shouldn't go around just airing out. I mean, I get that they were wine drunk, but they were completely unapologetic about it regardless. It might be for the best though, because now it's out there, it might properly get addressed the way it does need to be addressed. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making my brother-in-law wait outside in the rain? I don't like my brother-in-law. We were both flying to visit his parents, and even though I said I would make my own way to the airport, he and my husband insisted both that I go with him. He showed up the day of our flight despite me telling him not to the day before. I was already running late and I didn't want him breathing down my neck, so I didn't open the door. It was raining and he kept knocking, but I ignored him at first and then told him I would come outside in 15 minutes when he wouldn't stop. He told me to open the door, but I said no and continued to ignore him. He's still mad at me and spent the entire drive and flight giving me dirty looks. He was also telling me off at first, but I told him I would tell my husband he was being nasty to me again, so he stopped. He did tell my husband what I did as soon as he arrived, and he asked me to apologize, but I've refused so far. Am I the jerk? Question, why is OP's husband treating them like OP is their kid or something? I think OP is not the jerk. They clearly don't like this person, they don't want to associate, and their wishes are just not being respected. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to let my sister have contact with the children she gave up? Background, I, 34-year-old male, have adopted my sisters, Amelia, 36, children, Mason and Ethan, both 15, Charlie, 14, and AJ, 13. They've been with me for 4 years now. She hasn't seen them or tried to contact them for the whole time they've been with me. I recently had messages from her saying that she wants to see the boys again. I ignored them for a while, but discussed this with the boys' social worker. I was told they could decide whether they wanted to see her, but if they do, it has to be supervised by me and the social workers, which I was fine with. However, when I asked them, they all said that they didn't want to meet her. I asked them several times, separately and together, so they weren't being influenced by their brothers. I also asked their therapists to bring up their mom, but they all said the same. I told the social worker this. They spoke to them and confirmed that it wasn't in their best interests to force contact. The next time my sister messaged, I told her to contact their social worker to discuss it. She wasn't very happy with her answer and has been calling me a jerk for brainwashing the boys and refusing to let them see her. She's managed to turn my whole family against me, who are all now saying that I'm a jerk for not giving her another chance to reconnect with them. And I'm starting to doubt myself. I would never force the boys to see her, but I feel maybe I am the jerk because I didn't try hard enough to talk to them about it. OP is definitely not the jerk. The point is, you asked the kids, do they want to see her? They all said no, multiple times to multiple people. That should be the end-all be-all of the story, regardless of what any outsider who probably doesn't have a full proper understanding of everything here says. Our next story is, am I the jerk for dancing with a recently separated woman at a wedding while her ex-husband was in attendance? I recently attended my sister's wedding solo. At the reception, there was a slower type dance when I saw this really beautiful woman by herself. I went up to her and asked her if she would like to dance. She mentioned she was recently separated, so wasn't looking for anything romantic, but agreed to dance with me anyways. We then danced for a couple of songs and seemed to really enjoy each other's company. We actually ended up exchanging numbers and she left to go home. As I went outside for a smoke, I noticed a guy kind of glaring at me. I asked if he wanted a smoke, and he told me that I should lose her number. I just kind of ignored him and went back inside. I asked my sister who that guy was, and she told me that it was the woman's recent ex-husband. Technically, they were just separated, not yet divorced. When I told my sister what had happened, she said that the ex was a friend of the groom's, and that's why he still ended up going to the reception. She told me that I probably shouldn't be dancing with someone who was recently separated. I don't know, I feel like I really didn't do much wrong, but I do feel bad. I might have caused a scene with her ex. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk, and honestly, I say screw anybody that says, oh, well, they're recently separated, so you can't dance with them. What kind of malarkey is that? If somebody is fresh out of a breakup or a 25-year marriage and they want to go dancing with somebody, God forbid, they can go dancing with whoever they darn please. Our next story is, am I the jerk for taking off my shoes on a flight? Recently, I traveled to another country to attend a metal concert. The flight was going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours. I only had a carry-on with me, but I wanted to wear my knee-high Doc Martens, which are heavy and big and wouldn't fit in my carry-on, and even if they did, they would be awkward to carry. But I also didn't fancy to sit in them for the duration of the flight in a small space. So I made sure they don't smell, preventatively sprayed them with shoe spray before I left home. When I sat down on my seat, I took my shoes off and put on fresh socks. My shoes were under my legs, they weren't bothering anyone. A lady was about to sit next to me and she saw that I didn't have shoes on and she freaked out, called me disgusting, etc. I tried explaining that I had clean socks, but she demanded I put my shoes back on. I refused. She called the stewardess and I explained again. The stewardess told her there was nothing she could do because I wasn't breaking any rules. The lady was huffing and puffing all throughout the flight. She also filmed me when she was berating me, so who knows, it may be online now. But I tried to ignore her and just put my headphones on. The lady even complained about this when we were giving our passports, and they ignored her as well. I told my friends about this and they're kind of divided. Some agree with me and some say it's kind of gross and I could have been more accommodating and put my shoes on. Am I the jerk for taking my shoes off? I would say you would be the jerk if you took your shoes off and you could tell they legitimately did stink. But I think the end-all be-all is the stewardess said, "You're not breaking any rules. You weren't really being disgusting. You went out of your way to be considerate and make sure you're not stinking." And depending on the length of flight, I think it's normal-ish for people to take their shoes off. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to leave the room when my husband told me to? My husband's best friend, female, got the news of her dog's cancer days ago. My husband would call her every day till yesterday when she visited. I opened the door for her, greeted her, and then led her to the living room and went into the kitchen to get a glass of water after my husband asked me. I came back and didn't find them in the living room. Turns out they went into the guest room and the door was shut. I heard weeping and sobbing sounds coming from the inside. I knocked, then got in and found them embracing each other crying. I stood by the door, but my husband paused and told me to give them a moment. I gotta say that I didn't feel comfortable with his request, so I remained standing. He got up and started repeatedly telling me to get out. I told him it's my house, and he can't tell me where I can and can't stay. He got angry and told me to get out and we'll talk later, but I refused. He asked what was wrong with me for not seeing how tense the situation was and for not giving them privacy. I told him that they did not need to shut the door for any reason, no matter what it was. We argued and she ended up leaving. He blew up at me afterwards, calling me unbelievable and saying I had no respect for him and his friend, who's going through a hard time and refusing to give them privacy. I told him how weird it was for them to just shut the door just because they were crying. He told me that I was petty and overbearing to act like this in front of her and stopping him from showing proper support. Now he's gone completely radio silent and is acting like I kicked her out or treated her poorly. Some context. Ages of those involved is 26-year-old female, 28-year-old female, and 31-year-old male. 2, she's been his best friend/sister for like over 8+ years. 3, she tends to be very emotional and highly sensitive. 4, we don't get along because she tends to be a boundary stomper and does and says things that make me feel like I don't know my husband as much as she does. She also compares us as well. And 5, initially I didn't want her to come to the house, but my husband called her and told her to come since he didn't see her after the news was received till yesterday. So I don't know if this just says more about me and my comfort with things, but I feel like OP's not the jerk. If I was in an OP situation, I would be feeling mighty uncomfortable too. And especially the fact like they need to close the door. They need to hold this girl. I don't know. Honestly, I do feel for them, but the behavior and the requests seem a bit red flag triggering. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.